Why do 80% of gardeners struggle with weeds? Because they haven't discovered no-dig gardening yet. Imagine a garden where you spend less time digging and more time harvesting. Sounds like a dream, right? No-dig gardening is your key to a sustainable, low-maintenance and incredibly productive garden. By layering organic matter like compost and mulch directly on the soil, you'll boost soil health, reduce weeds, conserve water, and save tons of time and energy. Plus, you'll be supporting biodiversity and preventing soil erosion. It's a win-win. Whether you're a seasoned green thumb or just starting out, no-dig gardening, cultivating abundance the natural way. By Jovan Hutton, Pulitzer, has all the expert insights you need, my little EO. From site selection to layering techniques, this book is your ultimate guide to a flourishing, eco-friendly garden. So are you ready to embrace abundance, freedom, and harmony with nature? Grab your copy today and start transforming your garden with no-dig magic. Why do 80% of gardeners struggle with weeds? Because they haven't discovered no-dig gardening yet. Imagine a garden where you spend less time digging and more time harvesting. Sounds like a dream, right? No-dig gardening is your key to a sustainable, low-maintenance and incredibly productive garden. By layering organic matter like compost and mulch directly on the soil, you'll boost soil health, reduce weeds, conserve water, and save tons of time and energy. Plus, you'll be supporting biodiversity and preventing soil erosion. It's a win-win. Whether you're a seasoned green thumb or just starting out, no-dig gardening, cultivating abundance the natural way. By Jovan Hutton, Pulitzer.
Hey folks, welcome to the program. How are you doing? Listen, I've always taught that everything in your life is determined by your voting ballot. You don't want illegals across the border? Get the ballot fixed. Don't want kids undergoing, surgery to supposedly change little boys into girls, little girls into boys? It all comes down to your ballot. That even has to do, folks, with our food. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Today's program is brought to you by the fine folks at Goldco. Just like anything I do, it's to give you the heads up, folks. It's really that simple. All I'm asking you to do is to go to jovanlovesgold.com and request your free gold and silver kit today. Look, now's the time to protect your money with gold and silver. And by the way, you might qualify to get up to $10,000 in free silver from my partners at Goldco. You cannot defend yourself if you don't understand how the system does it to you. And I'm seeing more and more people trying to access their 401ks, their IRAs, their retirement savings account, and told they can't, or they're dinged 50% penalty for what they pull out. And now you're finding out inside corporations, even though you think you have these retirement plans, interesting hook. Something maybe happens to your home or your car. You got to get a new one. You're going to reach into your retirement. They now kind of have a new hook going on that, okay, you can access your retirement, but you've got to quit the company. Well, let's say you've got another 10 years or whatever, right, to go, and you plan to stay there the whole time. They force you to quit. See, they get that money one way or another, because then you don't get to the full retirement and you get even less. That's the racket. Folks, go to jovanlovesgold.com, feed your brain, get the information. Okay? It's very simple. You need to know what's going on. By the way, as soon as I wrap this episode, we'll hop over to Locals, talk about an article that I published on my Substack yesterday. People are kind of going nuts about it. But that article, I'm going to explain in detail why knowing how many different printers printed ballots in elections is a clue to finding everything else that goes wrong with elections. Today's program is also brought to you by the fine folks at CB Distillery. I love these guys. We've got a 25% off program running. You got to make sure you use the right promo code, though. right? Right promo code. It's Rumble. And as you know, these holidays are hectic. Family drama, last minute shopping, up late at night, trying to get ready for the holidays. It can feel like you've run a marathon. It can feel like it's putting you through an endurance test. That's why I'm sharing the ultimate holiday survival plan, CBD from CB Distillery. Seriously, everything you need for a merry holiday is here. You might choose to stuff mom's stocking with CBD for better sleep. You might choose to give your fitness friends the pain relief stick for post-workout. And don't forget to grab a little holiday calm for yourself. Every CB Distillery product is made from premium quality clean ingredients, no filters, nothing artificial. And with over 2 million customers and 100% money back guarantee, well, it's the gift, that you can kind of feel good about giving. Talk about feeling good. This is my go-to right there for somebody who's basically broken, destroyed, exploded, shot, crushed, burned his body. Unfortunately, this is it. That's the CBD relief stick. Rub it on, keep it by my nightstand. The stuff works. Here, I'm going to give you a code. You can just scan it, okay? So this year, give yourself and everyone on your list a gift of better sleep, less strain, pain relief from CBD, because it works. And that's why CB Distillery puts it out. And with the promo code, you got to use Rumble, though. Rumble is the promo code, not my name. You can save 25% on your entire purchase. So visit cbdistillery.com. Enter the code Rumble for 25% off. That's cbdistillery.com. Promo code Rumble, cbdistillery.com. And just so you know, specific product availability, because it varies, depends on individual state regulations. Get after it. Okay. I'm posing a question to you. And the question is, has there been some secret agreement to poison and harm all Americans? Specifically, and I'm talking Americans, is there some weird grand cabal agreement to take freedom-loving Americans, make them dumber and sicker, so we end up not competing on the world stage? That's the question I'm posing to you. Share this program right now. Let's get into it right after this.
Warning. The following program has been rated Gilligaff and is intended for open-minded audiences. If the truth offends you, or if you are allergic to focused intensity, intellectual athleticism, or the occasional F-bomb or even irreverent humor, please switch off now. If your delicate sensibilities need to be worried about or addressed, might we recommend the Underwater Basket Weaving channel to you? Otherwise, sit back, enjoy the wisdom, insight, and wicked sense of humor.
Cut the crap. How many times a day do you want to say that to politicians, the elite, the loony liberals, the fake news media, and the gender-confused, emotional socialist snowflake crowd? Cut the crap is your secret weapon for fighting for our freedoms and our great republic. It all begins with a massive mental enema, freeing you from the toxic news and politically correct views, which constipate your consciousness with stinking thinking. Your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. He's known for calling out politicians and telling them to cut the crap. You've seen him on virtually every television network and listened to him on Coast to Coast Radio. And now he's here to help you learn to fight for America. Culture, race, and American politics. They all have one thing in common. They all need to cut the crap. Now, here's your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer.
Okay, folks, we're going to talk about, I'm asking a question. Do you think there's been some secret agreement to poison and harm all Americans? I'm going to give you the information, you decide. I take a tremendous amount of flack that sometimes I talk too simply, that I break these things down and I don't use technical enough terms or the right mathematical terms. I hear that quite often. I think it's my habit to try to make things simplified. I'll give you an example. I guess you could say it's been beaten into my brain. Years ago, I started out in my technology career being the internet news correspondent at Fox in Dallas, Texas. One of the things I was very successful at was translating very complex technology issues, hard to understand about this thing at the time that everybody called the information superhighway that was coming to the internet. And I basically used simple speak to explain it. Now, I did that for a decade. And so my training's always been keep it simple, keep it understandable, because it's the public that needs to understand. And so sometimes I take some flack of those that value scientific circles or people that, have 3 MIT degrees even before they were born. But I think the system is designed to complicate things. I think the system intentionally uses words, put things in a vernacular that the general public can't explain. And that's kind of how they hide devious things. And so, yeah, it's my nature to kind of break it down and make it simple. Because here's the deal. If I'm really going to make you the smartest patriot in the room, and you don't understand how the system does it to you, then you can't defend against it. I personally believe lawmakers aren't going to do anything for us. Okay? And I believe the system is rigged in a way to speak in gobbledygook that you can't understand. Because they don't want you to kind of understand the truth. They don't want you to understand cause and effect. They don't want you to really understand what's going on. And so I guess I live my life to try to be transparent, to try to be simple. Some will call me uneducated for that. But I'm not trying to speak to university professors because I think university professors are part of the problem. I'm trying to speak to the everyday man and woman so you know how to apply these things in your life. Now, when it comes to, if you were to watch the things I focus on, or even the things I publish, I try to focus on quality of life, having a better life, so you can be proactive in your life and not a victim of the system. I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to talk for a minute. We did one book here called No Dig. This is part of our Make Life Easier series. A lot of people won't garden because they hate digging or digging a garden, or think it's too hard because you got to weed the damn thing. This is why we did this book, because you don't have to dig and you don't have to weed, right? Everybody, a lot of people love fresh fruit, and you probably in your life tried a fruit tree and you got fed up with it. We have a weird statistic in the United States of America. If you look at how frequently people move or change their homes, and it's almost to the point of every 7 years became the regular people would move. Now, why is that a problem? Because if you started improving your home a few years after being there and you planted some fruit trees, well, you're really not going to get the benefit of it. So in our full color hardbound books, I like hardbound books. We did this one, Giant Fruit in Small Spaces, because people think you have to have a massive amount of land when you can actually do it in your own yard, control your own destiny, and you don't have to wait 4, 5, 6, 7 years to fruit trees to produce. You can actually biohack them and have them produce it in months if you understand the concept. So that's why we did this. Plus, it improves the real estate value of your home or your land. And then finally, we did this one called the Food Forest Bible, which I think is the most important one, is because you're going to have to understand how to feed yourself again. I mean it. You are going to have to understand how to feed yourself again. And that's one thing that the system has eradicated from everybody. Look at college, even high school age kids. Don't know how to hunt, don't know how to fish, don't know how to grow anything, can't change a tire. That was all by design. Now, one of the things that I think is going on now is we're in a big design that I actually now believe somewhere along the line, agreements were made to basically take Americans who thrive and create. They already did it in our schooling system by, doing liberal arts degrees instead of science, technology, engineering, and math, right? So we're basically pumping out idiots that can't do anything for themselves. I think this goes along with the drugging of our nation. I watch these trends because I try to identify them as they occur. And I can't help but look at everything, right? I'm just a constant researcher, just a constant researcher, nonstop. And we've covered some of these programs. And if you were to look back, other than wars, the trial and tribulations in our country, you would probably refer to the Great Depression, which was a financial thing. I personally, this is one of the books we have coming out soon, think that the new Great Depression is in fact the infection of depression. And so that's when sickness becomes the obsession or the cult, and that is the new Great Depression that we're in. But I think this was planned. I really do. So what we're going to do is we're going to unpack some of these themes one by one. I'm going to show you some things we'll kind of talk about that I believe indicate that this has been in the planning for decades.
In 1944, the government ordered Americans to grow food, then by 1954 made front yard gardens illegal. Here's why that erased your food freedom. During World War II, 20 million victory gardens produced 40% of America's vegetables because the government needed every citizen growing food for survival. Your grandparents grew carrots in front yards, tomatoes on porches, and raised chickens in suburban backyards because Uncle Sam demanded food freedom for national security. The propaganda posters said dig for victory and plant for peace. Then the war ended and everything changed. And here's who wanted them banned. General Foods, Heinz, and Campbell's Soup lobbied for suburban zoning laws that banned front yard food production, while their processed food sales exploded 300%. Homeowner associations criminalized vegetable gardens as property value threats. By 1960, 90% of victory gardens were eliminated through municipal codes written by food industry lawyers. Comment victory if this betrayal makes you furious. Follow Forgotten Foods for more stories on.
I've done many an episode on this fact. And you have major food corporations writing laws, pushing them out to communities, right? To ban you from producing your own food. Now, we already know it works. In the great wars that happened, when Americans basically got their crap together and started growing their own food, our country didn't suffer at all. But you can go look at countries like Ireland in their past, in the Great Potato Famine. It occurred because the rulers, the ruling class, owned the potatoes. You didn't own the land. They allowed you to plant potatoes, had their specific two favorites, and that's what was grown. But when disease and blight hit the potatoes, it wiped out everybody because it was never about managing your land right. It was just the only way you could kind of make money, and everybody was growing potatoes, and it basically killed the nation in a very significant way. So historically, we've been here before. But it's not just fruits and vegetables. It's a practice that's in everything we eat now.
Many supermarket meats aren't just meat. They're injected with a plumping solution made of water, salts, phosphates and preservatives. And why? to increase the weight, increase shelf life, and then increase profits.
I want you to think about that for a moment, because this happens with everything that we eat. For me, it's a matter of ethics. But the corporation, in many ways, and I'm a capitalist, you're trying to do best for your shareholders, but you don't do it at the price of your fellow mankind. But this is one of the things that people don't realize. Chickens, turkeys, beef, whatever in the regular grocery store, which I don't get that from the regular grocery store. They'll pump it up with water. The second part of this is they'll go through a very fast freeze process with like the chickens and stuff. They're literally selling you water, chemical water.
Many supermarket meats aren't just meat. They're injected with a plumping solution made of water, salts, phosphates, and preservatives. And why? To increase the weight, increase shelf life, and then increase profits.
So from the corporate angle, I understand profitability, but when they're doing it, knowing they're poisoning us, when the system does it and know they killed the land and they're killing people, you have to ask, why does it keep on being allowed? Now, the answer, I think, is very obvious to all of us, because that too is profitable. Because if you can get people sick, you can get more money. You can get them on medications. Hopefully you can get them hooked on that they'll take the rest of their life. I see it over and over. Someone on the periphery of my life got checked. A family member got checked and was told, you have stomach cancer. And you immediately need to start doing, radiation, chemo, and all this stuff. Thankfully, they asked for other opinions. It was a very bad stomach infection that had gone too far, but it was not stomach cancer. There was no mass. But the system wants to get these higher treatments out. But it's the system. It's our food. Everything you're walking in to get in the grocery store is not exempt from this process.
There's a chemical now, the second most used chemical in this country, pesticide in this country, is atrazine. It's banned in Europe, banned all over the world, but we use it here. It's in 63% of our drinking water. There's a famous African-American scientist named Tyler Hayes, who's at the University of Berkeley. He did a famous experiment that anybody can look up on the internet. He put 70 African water frogs in an aquarium. He put atrazine in the water of that aquarium that was less than EPA's level. So it's less than the levels we have in 63% of our water supply. 60 of those frogs became sterile. They're all male frogs. 60 became sterile. 10% of those frogs turned female, and they were able to produce fertile eggs. So it changed their sex. And of course, normally, when you see something like that in an animal model, the first thing you want to do is test it in a mammalian model and then a human model. Those tests were never done.
It's not that this information is not out there. It's that this information is suppressed, it's lobbied against, and this information is highly technical that everyday people can't understand. But it's allowed in systems.
Essentially sand. Their beef filling, they're not allowed to call it beef filling. They have to call it taco filling because
it's not beef.
The beef has silica.
I want you to understand this. This is Taco Bell. And when you look, I've always told you it's a battle of words. I've always told you they cloak it in words. Same thing in elections. It's cloaked in words. It's cloaked in bullshit. And you've probably noted this and I like Taco Bell. Taco Bell's some great stuff. But is it a run for the border or a run for the doctor when they do stuff like this?
Essentially sand. Their beef filling, they're not allowed to call it beef filling. They have to call it taco filling because
it's not beef.
The beef has silicone in it to make it fuller and more. Look it up.
I guess the ingredients. It's not in there.
Silicon dioxide, anti-caking agent. Now look that up.
Anti-caking agent to avoid clumping in supplements. It's used to prevent the various powdered ingredients from sticking together. Many food additives. Consumers often have concerns about silicon dioxide as an additive.
Probably
Is it
fine.
safe?
Look at that. That's sand. See that? That's they put in there.
Also frequently found in health food nutritional supplements as an additive, silicon dioxide primarily functions as an anti-caking agent which prevents ingredients from binding together because it's not food. Duh. Why is it in there though?
36% beef.
Oh, it's only 36% beef in Taco Bell.
The other 64% is a wide range of fillers, extenders.
Now, have you ever thought about that? I love tacos. Beef tacos, all kinds of tacos. Beef tacos, chicken tacos, vegetable tacos, velvet tacos. They're all great. But have you ever thought about the fact that you're ordering a beef taco, because they put it up on there, beef taco, but when it really comes down to it, they can't call it beef, technically in the labeling. They have to call it taco filling. Again, it's the words. It's the words. Now, you might have recently seen this one go viral.
A former Campbell Soup Company employee is taking legal action against the food giant, and he's making some explosive allegations about one of its top executives. Good evening, and thanks for joining us at 6. I'm Ty Steele.
I'm Kimberly Gill. Those allegations are now at the center of a lawsuit claiming the company's vice president went on an hour-long tirade attacking the company's products and employees before taking aim at its customers.
And the former employee recorded it all. Eric Erickson shares that recording and what the company is saying about it.
We have shit for poor people. Who buys our shit?
And that's just part of an over an hour-long rant, says former security analyst for Campbell's, Robert Garza of Monroe.
I don't buy Campbell's products barely anymore. It's so healthy. Now that I know what the in it, even in a can of soup, I look at it, look at me, bioengineered meat. I don't want to eat a piece of chicken that came from a 3D printer. You?
The recording allegedly of Campbell's VP and Chief Information Security Officer Martin Bally.
He has no filter.
Bally, along with another supervisor and Campbell Soup Company, named in a lawsuit filed Thursday. The suit claiming Bally made racist remarks, admits to coming to work high, and Garza fired for coming forward.
What do you think about the things that he was saying?
Oh, just pure disgust.
Garza says he usually worked remotely for Campbell's headquarters based in Camden, New Jersey. But thinking he'd be discussing his salary with Bally, he says the recording taken in person at a restaurant.
They couldn't think for themselves. I'm like, you dumb f.
Garza says he felt sick after the rant, deciding to go to his direct supervisor in January, keeping the recordings to himself.
He had never had any disciplinary action. They had never written him up for poor work performance.
Garza says no one at Campbell's ever followed up, and it's taken him 10 months to find a new job, calling the way the canned soup company handled it simply terrible.
They have a motto, like we treat you like family, here at Campbell's, come work for us, we treat our employees like family. That's not the case.
We did just receive a statement from Campbell's. It says, quote, if accurate, the comments in the recording are unacceptable. They do not reflect our values and the culture of our company. We are actively investigating this matter.
I like Campbell soup, cream of mushroom, chicken and rice. I don't eat them often, but I do like them. But did you ever think about what was really, really in there? Now, they fired this one guy because said he was racist, making racist remarks. England's doing the same thing. Let me introduce you to a new form of racism.
Despite the bill passing into law, many Canadians don't understand.
I apologize. It's proposed in the UK. It's passed in Canada.
Despite the bill passing into law, many Canadians don't understand exactly what environmental racism means. Can one of you please explain the value of this law to protecting the health of Canadians and what environmental racism means?
What environmental racism is? It's essentially the connection between instances of it's the intersection between sociological and other factors and instances of adverse environmental conditions.
What? Again, I've always told you it's weaponizing words.
Despite the bill passing into law, many Canadians don't understand exactly what environmental racism means. Can one of you please explain the value of this law to protecting the health of Canadians and what environmental racism means?
What environmental racism is? It's essentially the connection between instances of it's the intersection between sociological and other factors and instances of adverse environmental conditions.
Well, Campbell's Soup does have a predominantly white label on the can, and that doesn't reflect the diversity of the world and their white supremacist corporate capitalist colonializing pigs, and they need to change their labels so they're not so white. Everything's a con, folks. Everything is a con. Okay, well, I just want to have Campbell's Soup. I'll make my own. I'll go to the store. I'll buy my damn chicken. I'll just make my own. Okay.
Your organic holiday turkey and chicken swam in the same chlorine bath as your local YMCA pool, and you just served it to your family. 97% of chickens processed in the...
I want to give you an experiment to do. This is one, if you want to teach somebody just how bad these chemicals are, I'm going to give you a very simple test. Write this down, because I'm telling you, it's the most shocking, on point revelation you can do about how bad our system is, right? I got 4 thumbs down. They must like their printed turkey meat. Anyway, here's a true experiment you can do. You know, I've told you before, take a chicken bone, a chicken leg after you, with the kids eating some chicken, fill it in a can of soda, let it set overnight. The bone's gone. It's a lump of mush at the bottom, and that's because the soda basically deciduates it. But here's another one. If you live in an apartment, or you have a pool, or you live near a pool, or you swim at the gym where there's a pool, anywhere where somebody has the pool and it's treated with chlorine, because that's what we're about to show here. I'm going to give you just a slam dunk test. Go to the grocery store and buy pH strips. Where you dip the little things in. You can use them for a urine test. You use them to test your pool chlorine, etc. Right? And do the following test. Okay? Take a clear glass so everybody can see it. Scoop a glass of the water out of the pool. Okay? Then take out one of the little chlorine testers, dip it in, pull it out, and watch the color change. You'll see the very high level, right? Dina says she can do it today. So Dina, do this. Maybe record it. You scoop a pool of water that's chlorine treated, true chlorine, swimming pool. Same glass, only one glass of water. Dip the little pH strip in it and look at it and record the pH level. Write it down. Snap a picture of it. Now, in that same glass of water, I want you to stick something else in it. You don't need any more water. Use the same glass of water. And all I want you to do is to stick your finger in it. Just do this. 1, 2, 3. Count to 3. Stick your finger in it. Take it out. That's all I want you to do. Take one finger. Stick it in the same glass. Count to 3. Pull it back out. You know, most people swim longer than 3 seconds. And then retake the chlorine test of that same glass of water. The chlorine won't be there. Where did it go? In that super fast moment, all the chlorine that was in that glass of water got sucked right into your body. Don't believe me? Do the test. In that time, it got sucked right into your body. Bang. Now think about when you jump in a sauna or a public pool or whatever. Think about how much goes into your body, because you're damn sure sticking a lot more skin in there than one finger. And you're in there a lot longer than just 3 seconds. That is the truth of some of these chemicals. Now, why do I tell you that? That it'll be sucked into your meats and your joints and your fibers and everything else.
Your organic holiday turkey and chicken swam in the same chlorine bath as your local YMCA pool, and you just served it to your family. 97% of chickens processed in the U.S. are bathed in chlorine. And yes, that includes certified organic, you know, the premium stuff that we're all paying extra money for at Whole Foods or Erewhon. Here's why. Industrial farming processes thousands of chickens in the same bath. If one bird's carrying salmonella, it spreads to the entire batch. So the USDA solution, well, we will mandate a chlorine bath. Chlorine-washed chicken is banned in the European Union for good reason. They looked at the process and said, yeah, I'm out. But here in the States, federal regulators don't even disclose. Companies put whatever they want on the label. It's crazy. So you have no idea that you're buying pool chicken or turkey on Thanksgiving. So what can you eat? Look for both air-chilled and pasture-raised on the package. The birds live normal lives and then they pass into the afterlife in a cold chamber, which is the most humane way to do it. No cross-contamination, no chemical residue, just real chicken that hasn't been marinated in cleaning supplies. I'm Drew Canoli.
Think about that. Just think about it. Most of these things come under the guise of, we've got to protect you. We've got to do what's right. That's how bad this is. Corporations know this, but yet they keep doing it.
PepsiCo is literally using a robot that mimics human taste.
So hang on one second here. Let me set this up for you. You've seen the Ozempic thing. People are losing weight, becoming zombies, right? The chlorine one on chicken is not disclosed on the label, by the way. It's all poultry in every 100% supermarket, right? You want air chilled is what you want to look for. Well, you can always go back and watch my program, but you want air chilled is what you look for. But now that Ozempic's coming out, and it's the new wonder drug, and they're going to get everybody who's obese, most Americans, are going to now be able to get it cheaper, lose weight fast. Really?
PepsiCo is literally using a robot that mimics human taste buds to make sure that you crave their product before you've even had the first bite. When machines determine what we crave, it's not food anymore, it's manipulation. How Cheetos are engineered to melt away in your mouth so your brain doesn't think you're eating anything and you can't register the calories. They call this vanishing caloric density. How Doritos and other snacks are laced with MSG. MSG that's given to rats in obesity studies to make them fat. How they create flavors that don't exist in nature in a chemical laboratory so that it creates the 1 millionth best part of a taste. Our brains have not evolved to handle that, and that's one of the reasons why 38% of preteens are now pre-diabetic, and that's unacceptable. The fact that the food companies continue to use these tactics that they learned from the tobacco industry and how to hijack our taste buds, hijack our brains so that we cannot stop eating. We can't stand a chance against that type of manipulation, and that's why big food needs to be held accountable, and they need to stop that right now.
But big food is big money. The reason I told you about Ozempic, because the new thing that's coming out are foods that are chemically designed to work around what makes Ozempic work. Now, if that's not an absolute proof that they want you sick, addicted, and remember, she says kids are getting diabetes. That's just another diversified revenue stream. Why would you engineer foods that way other than consume, 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 consume? Why would you now engineer foods to get around the Ozempic effect unless you need people addicted and obese? Because it's a revenue stream. And it's even in some of the places I actually love. I try to stay away from fast food, but damn, I love Chick-fil-A. Don't you love Chick-fil-A? They're the bomb.
What did moms across America find after testing Chick-fil-A sandwiches?
We found an aviary contraceptive in them, narcobazine, in Chick-fil-A sandwiches. And so we are extremely concerned about people who have been eating Chick-fil-A, because we know it's quite addictive.
So not only aviary contraceptives in there, but they just brought back antibiotic chicken.
So after we put out that information that we found an aviary contraceptive, they took away the phrase that they have, which is no antibiotics ever. They took it down off their website and they put up no antibiotics important for human health.
No antibiotics, one thing, but try to skirt around it. No antibiotics that are basically working against human health. It's so pervasive.
Moms across America.
I'm going to give you an example of how manipulative this is. And everything's political, folks. If you want to fix this, we've got to fix the ballot. That's the core issue. We've got to fix the ballot. But I'm going to show you one incredible analogy that will help you understand how all of this is organized to create chaos and to keep people uninformed. And to do that, I'm going to use our education system as an example of how this manipulation works. Watch this.
Why is it that public schools only teach about the transatlantic slave trade? They don't teach that there was slavery in the Ottoman Empire, that it lasted for 600 years and 5 to 10 million people were enslaved.
Yes, I'm using an education example. I'll let it roll completely in a minute. But see, there's no value in the truth. It cannot be used politically. But if they can keep you away from the truth, then they can continue to control you. At the same time, you think you're enlightened. It's all the way down to the school systems and how they incorporate all of this in. But use this as a prime example.
Why is it that public schools only teach about the transatlantic slave trade? They don't teach that there was slavery in the Ottoman Empire, that it lasted for 600 years and 5 to 10 million people were enslaved. That they not only enslaved men, but the most valuable slaves were women, because sexual slavery was not only permitted, but it was institutionalized in the Ottoman Empire. So they would get many of their slaves from Central Europe, many of their slaves from the Balkans, and they would enslave Hungarians, Russians, Ukrainians, which is why the word slave comes from Slav. And why don't schools teach about the trans-Indian slave trade, which lasted for over 1,200 years and enslaved 4 to 10 million people? Or the trans-Saharan slave trade, which lasted for over 1,200 years and enslaved 9 to 17 million people, all of which ended, ready for it, not before, but long after the North Atlantic slave trade. And yes, chattel slavery was practiced in all of these places. In fact, in 1776, the majority of countries in the world practiced chattel slavery. And where Europe and the United States were early in abolishing slavery, it went on much longer in the Middle East, in Africa, and in places like China, Thailand, and Mongolia. If you went back to 1776, you would find 90 to 95% of the countries in the world practiced slavery. And that had been the norm for thousands of years. And the United States of America banned slavery in 7 states when the rest of the world had only banned it in 7 countries. And the reason this isn't taught is that everything in school is framed through a Marxist lens of oppressed versus oppressors. So they intentionally teach our history out of context, which is a form of brainwashing that is designed to make dividing and conquering society easy. Because absent of historical context, it allows them to frame the United States of America as some uniquely evil place, when in reality it is Britain, the United States of America, and the West that is responsible for driving the institution of slavery into extinction. You could learn more about that in my previous video. And this is why
you have to realize all of this goes hand in hand. It's a con. Every single bit of it goes hand in hand. Every single bit of it is a manipulation to create chaos, to keep people divided. Because if you can keep people divided, not united, if you can create chaos and confusion, you can control people. And you can always say, well, you're oppressed and we're going to set you free. This is the tactic. This is why we don't have any truth. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to show you some stuff you need to know about Bill Gates. I'm going to show you stuff about how the legal system's doing this. It's a little hidden secret of what the government's doing to farmers. It's getting out of control. We're going to talk about bioengineered foods. Share this right now. A lot more coming. Hang tight. Be right back.
Would you ever eat government vaccines? Feed your family hormones or antibiotics? Never ever do that to your family. So why buy beef the same way you've always bought beef? You're buying meat glue bonded, hormone filled, antibiotic riddled grocery store meat. Say no to supermarket medicated Franken meats and say hello to NeverEverBeef.club. Always 100% USDA prime or high choice. That's restaurant grade. Never Ever is not ever just select beef or even standard or ungraded store branded meat. It's simply the very best cut and tasting steak you have ever had. We have never ever given our herd hormones, antibiotics, or even mRNA vaccines. Never ever. Pure blood genetics. We've raised our herds this way for over 30 generations. They simply have never, ever had antibiotics, hormones, or killer vaccines. Grass-fed the way nature intended, in almost 500,000 acres of high pasture environments. Finished off with non-modified feed crops we grow ourselves. We even own our own 210,000 square foot processing plant. And as an added bonus for our NeverEverBeef.club members, we age our steaks in our state-of-the-art 780,000 cubic foot aging facility. Only top restaurants do that, so they can charge you $100 or more for a little bitty steak. We age our meat because we want you to have the very best restaurant quality USDA prime or high choice, pure blood, purebred beef at a price your family can afford in these financially challenging times. Sure, you can keep paying the price for supermarket cheap, standard, and ungraded store meat brands if you love feeding your family Franken meat. So never ever settle for less. Join our NeverEverBeef.club. Take control of your health and your family food supply right now. Join NeverEverBeef.club. We are real people with real families just like you. So we personally customize your order right over the phone. Now that's customer service. And there's absolutely no obligation when we call. You decide what bundle is best for your needs. No hormones, antibiotics, or even mRNA vaccines. Never had them and never ever will. Never ever cut corners on your food supply or family's health. Join nevereverbeef.club now.
Saw some people when that ran asked, well, were these cattle born in the U.S. and the beef inoculated? You know, you inoculate beef against brucellosis, which is the killer in beef, and it's why they don't put buffalo, you know, close to cattle, or you don't want certain elk herds because they carry brucellosis. The reason I even endorse this product is because it's been controlled now, what is it, 34 generations of calves? They're going to get a brucellosis, right? You have to worry about it when they're out grazing. All the other injections, all the other stuff, it's not forced. They're doing it in poultry. Yes, it's hard to get away from that one. But this specific herd has been controlled the whole time. So you say, well, how did they get around it? And how do they do whatever? Because the company, 60,000 mamas, right? And so what happens is the babies stay with the mamas up in the mountains and feed. When the smaller steers, when the steers are ready to split out and get to a butcher state, what happens is they're brought down from the mountains and they're put on the company's feedlot. That feedlot is only using organic practices, not GMO stuff, to feed those cattle. It's not being sent out to a separate feedlot. Doesn't happen. And so they'll finish them off that way. And then literally from the feedlot to the factory to process it, a few hundred yards. That's it. To make sure that this could be done, the company dropped $700 million to build its own processing plant. To build its own FDA certified processing plant. Oh, by the way, because a lot of these hooks will come in with banks and stuff like that, the company paid cash to build the facility so it wouldn't even be hooked up in financial documents. It's unfortunate that these are the steps companies have to go through to make sure what you get is quality, but that's how bad it is. A lot of the shots you're thinking about, well, I got to have this and this. No, they'll be taken off of fields. They'll be trucked to a feedlot, right? They'll be trucked to a feedlot mixed with all kinds of other cattle. That's why they have to do that. In fact, in this herd, it's so pristine. Let me give you an example. If a calf or a mama or whatever actually got sick and had to be medicated up to save, they'll do it. But then that cow or calf or whatever is sold. It's gotten rid of. It does not stay in the herd. They won't let the animal suffer. They'll heal it, inject it, won't stay in the herd. It completely gets away from everything else. It's so everything can be clean. That's why if you wanted even a bull from this herd, you're talking $500,000. It's the only herd in the world of this kind. But see, you've got to put the system together and understand why a lot of those things are injected or antibiotics is to keep them from dying, and they just run them through the food system. Never Ever Beef does not do that. And so there's a big difference, right? There's a big difference. I grew up, I come from a family that has thousands of acres of cattle ranching. And I've eaten some good beef in my life. I've never had beef like this. You can ask people in chat. This stuff's the bomb. It's all prime, the whole bit. But that's why I do it. Through even what I put on my program, it better be okay in my life and pass my muster test, or I'm not even going to do it. So many people don't have that standard. You only have to guarantee the herd's health. They're not required to get vaccines unless they've been exposed to antibiotics. You have a base vaccine, brucellosis. You've got to understand the cycle, right? The cycle that the system has built. And it's in that cycle, right, that our food becomes infected, becomes something worse. When you control it, and you control it that far back, and for that many years, it's the only way you can do it. Yeah, you could go right now and buy a cow and put it on your land and do it up, but it's still been in that system. If it's been anywhere at standard auctions or feedlots, it's been pumped up, and that's the system. Period. That's the way it works. And this is how the system compromises us. But you got to understand, when you don't put your cattle in cramped conditions, and they're in hundreds of thousands of grazing area that's not touched and not sprayed, you probably didn't catch that. We're not talking like a regular cattle guy that might have 200 or 300 acres and he's raising a few cattle, but they spray their fields and they're spraying for hay to get it grown. It's not subject to any of that. It's controlled cradle to table. That's the difference. But they're figuring out a way to get in that too, because they're adding it into cattle feed ingredients. Now, remember, most of these ingredients come from finished lots.
And me and my husband, Jan, we have a farm in the northern of Denmark. We come originally from Holland, and we moved here 4.5 years back. And I would like to tell you a little bit about the law in Denmark about feeding Bovaer to our cows. It's the law since this year that we have to feed 80 days of Bovaer to our cows. It's a rule, and if you don't do it, it's just like you can go to the prison, or you get like a big fine, a really big fine. So most all farmers just do it. What happened is that we started on the 1st of October. Most of the farmers do it in Denmark. It's because it's a little bit in the end of the year. It's not warm, so no heat stress and everything. So we hope for less problems. But we started in the beginning of October with low doses, and we raised it up till the full doses around 20 of October, a little before. And on the 30th of October, we really got problems. It started with, on that day, we have robots, so we have a health list on the computer. And on that day, we had like in one group, we have 4 groups of cows in our stable. We have one group with 36 sick cows. We milk on daily basis around 480 cows. So 36 cows in one group, that's not really a positive thing. First, we thought perhaps it could be something with the ration in the robot or something with the robot, but we couldn't find anything. And the end of the day, it started also in 2 other groups. So at that point, we thought like the cows were really just stopping with eating. And at that point, we really thought it's Bovaer. We heard already earlier some problems about other farmers, and the signals were really the same. So we were almost, convinced that it was a problem with Bovaer we had at that point. So in the end of the evening, my husband and I decided we'll stop with feeding Bovaer because we cannot keep this. If this will continue all animals get sick. On Friday morning, we had like 70 cows on our health list. And on Saturday morning, it was almost 90. And we already stopped since Friday morning. So you can understand the problems were still rising. On Friday morning, we had the first cow down. So they went to the sick box. On Saturday morning, we had in the morning, we had 2 more cows down. On the afternoon, 1 more. On Sunday, we had also 1 cow down. And we are now standing on Monday at the last cow, just recently, just pulled out half an hour ago, out of the stable. She can also not stand anymore. All have a lack of calcium, the ones who are laying down and just not eating. They just simply stop with eating. And we have a special powder, which we gave the whole weekend to all the cows who stopped eating. And we're pumping with them, with it. And, together with some vitamins, we try to rise, get them up with eating again. With most of the cows, that's working. So it is, some treatment for us, which is working. And we hope that it will really, stop right now, soon.
Now, you're probably asking, what in the hell is Bovaer? Well, this is a Bill Gates funded initiative. It is something that was done in the name of climate religion. It's being mandated in countries because they've bought off lawmakers. You're going to flip when you find out what this is. And it all goes along with this bioengineering stuff. Be right back.
This crazy world is telling you your sons can be daughters and your daughters can be your sons. When will the madness stop? Never. So you have to decide, will you comply or defy? They tell us all, you will own nothing, eat bugs, and be happy. Is this why America's largest food processing plants and food supply plants keep burning down? Do you really think this is a coincidence? Of course not. The system is telling us right to our faces what they have planned for us. You have a choice. Comply or simply defy their plan for us all. Defy the system's plan and execute your own plan. Abundant, safe, secure natural food supply. Introducing the Food Forest Bible. This bestseller by Jovan Hutton Pulitzer is the single most complete, executable, easy-to-follow plan for sustainable, self-managing food production for self-sufficiency and food security. For the first time ever, a coffee table, heirloom quality full color book which unlocks the ancient secrets of creating a food forest. Imagine planting in a way which requires no digging, no pesticides, and creates massive ancient food abundance. No fooling. Food forests are the ancient secret to planning and planting once. And have your own Garden of Eden, which will feed your families for decade after decade. Buck the system. Buck the New World Order and order your very own copy of Jovan Hutton Pulitzer's Food Forest Bible. Learn how to create a sustainable, self-managing, natural food production for self-sufficiency and food security for your family. Side yard, small yard, backyard, backlot, or even lots of acres, the Food Forest Bible works for everyone. Order on Amazon, hardcover, softcover, or ebook. Don't comply. Expertly defy the system.
Okay, what I'm doing is I'm posing the question, has there been some secret agreement to poison and harm all Americans? I'm going to show you a lawsuit that's going on. I'm going to save that for the end. I'm going to show you a lawsuit going on to show you some other pieces of this. But I've been trying to tell you that this is coming. By the way, if you're looking for my Food Forest Bible, I did an ebook and the system copied it, took out a lot of the important stuff, changed it up, put it back out on their own. You've got to make sure you get the one with my name on it or you're getting the wrong book. We now do that with all our books. Look for my name on the front. It's about the only way we can protect it. You'll see my signature that it's a authorized one, because the system is 100% counteracting what I put out. Now, we were talking about Bovaer and Bill Gates. That's his initiative. Now, imagine this is your life in dairy and farming, and all of a sudden you use this. And I'm talking within days, as she said, the cattle start dropping like flies. Well, what she was talking about is a Bill Gates funded initiative. And that's why I believe they tested in foreign countries and they mandated do it. It's called Bovaer. And here's the bottom line. It's designed to reduce the amount cows fart. Go back 5 years ago. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I started telling you they're going to start taxing cattle. They're going to start taxing pigs. It's going to be done based on methane emissions. And it's a way to basically get people from having food supply so it can be controlled. And you understand that he also funded most of the synthetic meat. This product, Bovaer, that she was talking about, which destroyed her herd, is basically made, it's an additive you mix into the cattle feed to reduce cow farts. It blocks a specific enzyme that creates methane. In other words, it's just like the trans agenda. You're not a boy, you're a girl, let's change you. God was wrong. You're not a girl, you're a boy, let's change you. God was wrong. God didn't make perfect digestion in these animals because they fart methane. We've got to change that. We've got to play God. You get it? You get it? Of course, the FDA in the US, the EFSA in the European Union, and the UK food standard agencies have issued opinion that it's safe for cows, workers, consumers, and the environment, and there is no meaningful, measurable detection in the milk. Cow farts. Cow farts.
If we were eating food out of our own region or country even, no multinational would make money. Most people are not even aware that local food is more expensive than not even food, artificial processed food from the other side of the world, or even a banana or an apple that's been transported for thousands of miles will be cheaper in this completely artificial system. The costs are made completely invisible because we've also been told that we're too many people now to go back to the land, and we don't realize that we're being fed by bigger and bigger and bigger monocultures that are disastrous. They're anti-nature. They demand chemicals. They demand essentially a system that is so anti-life that after a certain amount of time, that land becomes a dust bowl, which has happened with industrial agriculture in country after country across the world. When you really step back and look at it, it's such a wasteful system. It creates such inequality and such human and ecological destruction.
It's all about destruction.
If we were eating...
It's all about destruction. Because of the pandemic, where's the carbon they want to get rid of? Now you understand. I gave you a heads up. Boy, I've been harping about this forever. I've always told you they're coming at us through our food. And I don't care if you live in a small plot, big plot, a little garden home. You can do every bit of this and control your destiny. But if you don't get back to basics, certainly if you don't teach your children and grandchildren to get back to basics, we're dead. We're dead. And now everything is being bioengineered.
I'm here at Aldi, and almost everything they have contains bioengineered food ingredients. Contains a bioengineered food ingredient.
I think people need to, before I show you this last little bit, understand how evil this is. Let me show you one thing. Pesticides, are horrible. They kill your land and ground. If you were to look at our Food Force Bible, one of the things that is in the book, let me just find an appropriate picture here. Hang on. Is what God made works. God made basically everything perfect. When mankind screws with the natural cycle of things or becomes isolated or whatever, you get, even what they have in Pakistanis, low IQ and just mentally deformed physically deformed kids. This is all about control. They have that closed control society where they control everything, and look what happens to the people. It's happening to us too. One of the things that I have in the Food Force Bible, so you understand, because you got to get away from the chemicals, is God created specific bugs that are assassins in your garden. So you probably step on a lot of these bugs. You see them and go, damn it, they're eating my garden. They're eating my whatever. God made assassins. You see these little ladybugs, but they eat very specific things that eat your garden. All of that's in here. Every bit of it's in here to set yourself free to understand how it works. But the common denominator is everybody playing God. Not a little boy, it's a little girl. It's not a little girl, it's a little boy. Oh, cows were made wrong. They fart methane. We got to fix that. Every bit of it is about control. To engineer it, they control it. If you want to do some independent research on your own, farmers in India and all over the world have been using and growing rice for thousands of years. These companies go in, they get the most successful rice crops, they break it down to its DNA level, get the blueprint, patent that, and call it their seed. Give it a name, patent it, put it out. When the farmers get caught growing that particular one, which they may have grown for 1,000 years, the government finds them out of existence and seizes their land. It's all about control on every level. This last little bit you need to see, because even like I talked about gardens being outlawed in your homes because of, homeowners associations, it is a constant attack on our system. It is a constant attack to take away your food independence. And when they get us to that point with no guns and all this other stuff and all water, states have even started outlawing collecting rainwater. What falls from God? Nope, we own it. I'm going to show you a sickening event that's going on in a county that perfects these things. I know where this is because my family is in the mining business, has been for a very, very, very long time, as long as I can remember. I can remember having a discussion with the Bureau of Land Management and people in D.C., and they slipped up and said, well, we just want to get rid of all of this, and so we're just going to make it hard. This person was actually transparent with me, say, we're just going to get rid of all of it. We had massive battles over land, and we're not engaged in environmentally damaging mining at all, under no circumstances. But I learned 20 plus years ago that this rig was coming because we were subjected to it ourselves. I want you to watch this. I am not going to interrupt it, maybe 12 minutes. I want you to understand they are testing all of these systems and what actually goes on.
The line between a working ranch and a dead one is sometimes just a signature, an accusation, or it could be a government agency that simply forgets who actually stewards the land. And what's happening right now to the King Ranch in Grant County, Washington, isn't just a story. It's a warning flare. And this is not the affluent King Ranch from Texas that many people hear about. This is a small family legacy ranch in the state of Washington being persecuted. Folks, today's episode is a little bit different because the latest filings in the King Ranch case, just filed days ago, blow the lid off this whole thing. The filings expose what's at stake for every rancher, every farmer, every rural American in this country. This isn't about one pond, one permit, or one grazing lease anymore. This is about whether government agencies can rewrite the rules, rewrite their lease agreements, and shut down family ranches after 70 years, more than 70 years, on claims that they have made, and then gag the rancher from being able to defend themselves, that according to these filings and the new evidence that's come out, are absolutely baseless. This week, the Kings took a risk and filed a major motion in court. Their filings are asking the court to lift an injunction that has prevented them not only from grazing their state leases, their state leased land, but also from even having access to their fee-based land in the state of Washington, land they rightfully own. A professional archaeological investigation found that no cultural harm has actually ever come from the Kings grazing their land or maintaining their stock ponds. Decades of grazing history with the Department of Natural Resources show that the DNR never once required permits or surveys, but none of this was able to be made public before because the courts had a quote-unquote criminal investigation against the Kings, which prevented them from telling the truth, from speaking up. An intentional criminal investigation put in place to keep them from telling their side of the story. Judges being asked to put injunctions in place and kick the Kings off their ranch had no way of fully knowing the truth. They were intentionally silenced, and now they're able to speak. And they are, quite powerfully, actually. And make no mistake, this isn't just about the Kings fighting for their ranch. This is the Kings fighting for your ranch, your legacy, your lease rights, your water rights, your family's future. Because think about it, if an agency can shut you down after 70 years of operation, if they can accuse you of violating rules that don't even exist, rules that they're currently writing or trying to write, and then shut you down while they have you legally gagged, that's not management. I don't even think it's legal. What it is weaponized bureaucracy. Today, I'm sitting down with the attorneys representing the Kings. These are the people who know exactly what the evidence is that the state does not want you to know. They're the ones who understand what the filings really say and why this case could set a legal precedent that changes the entire West. Guys, if you care about your land, if you care about the right to graze, if you care about the price of beef that you're paying in the grocery store, if you care about maintaining water, maintaining clean water, if you care about small family farms and ranches being able to operate without government overreach, if you care about keeping family ranches and farms instead of wiping them off of the map altogether, then you need to watch this interview. And more importantly, the Kings need your support. You can visit SaveKingRanch.com and find out how. Again, this is not the same King Ranch out of Texas. This is a small family ranch, a family legacy that is fighting for your rights. Whether you're in Washington, whether you're in Wyoming or Texas, anywhere really that cattle still drink from a pond. The Kings fight is your fight. Because as we all know, what happens in Grant County doesn't stay in Grant County. It becomes policy, it becomes precedent, it becomes the future. Unless we stand up now. All right, guys, let's get into it. Here are the attorneys representing the Kings, breaking down the filings, the evidence, the stakes, and a little bit about what happens next.
I'm Tony Meacham. I'm one of the Kings attorneys. I represented them for quite a long time. I have what's considered an agriculture practice. I'm a fifth generation rancher myself with a current ranch and have been representing Kings with this fight since it began.
Jamie Griffo. I'm co-counsel with Tony representing the Kings. We've been on board since 2021. I'm an attorney based out of Friday Harbor, Washington, and I practice mostly land use and real estate, and have had several successful lawsuits against Department of Natural Resources, but have never seen facts quite this bad.
And when did this case actually begin?
December 23rd of 2021. Yeah. It's been going for a while.
So because this has been going on for a while, since 2021, and it's not something that a lot of people have heard about. It's popped up in the news a few times and then it kind of simmers out. But going back to the beginning of this case, the King Ranch is a well-known ranch for their regenerative practices. They always seem to be a pretty responsible ranch. What happened back in 2021 that brought us to where we are today?
So I guess I'll take that one. It seems like, part of what we're going to talk about is speculation because we really don't have clear, concrete answers from the state. So what we do have is documents that we've been able to substantiate through our public records requests. And what we found through those public records requests is that Jeremy Sykes, one of the Department of Ecology employees, who has identified himself as not someone with the skills to delineate wetlands, but looked at an aerial photograph and determined, based on this aerial photograph, without having boots on the ground, that Kings had done a bulldozing spree, to use his own terms, and destroyed very rare alkali wetlands. And based on that instance of him looking at that aerial photograph, that then prompted DOE to Department of Ecology to go to DNR, Department of Natural Resources, and start this and begin the pursuit of Kings and the persecution. And I do use that word, persecution, not prosecution, of our clients based on this one aerial photograph that someone in an office in Western Washington looked at and made a determination to pursue our clients.
So this is worth mentioning too, that these alleged wetlands have been stock water ponds on this ranch for over 70 years for sure, probably as long as 200 years. So this land has been used by the King family for over 70 years and by Wade and Teresa for over 40 years. And it's a checkerboard pattern of fee-owned land with leased lands from DNR totaling about 37,000 acres. And they have been leasing this same land from DNR, just Wade and Teresa for 40 years, their family before him 70 years. And, nothing new was happening. There were these stock water ponds that were being maintained. DNR had been out there. DNR had, it really actually praised them for being model tenants and stewards over the years. So this was just out of the blue. Someone at Ecology woke up and said, on the aerial photos, these look like they're regulated wetlands. And to Tony's point, that kicked it off. So,
and I've seen at least one of the aerial photos that they published, and it didn't look like an area that was wetlands to me just because of how uniform it was, even before and after. It looked like something that was man-made at some point in time. But what you were saying is this did start from a photo, because that was one of the things that I had read different things about. It started from a photo. It started from, a random hiker complaint. But this was something that they looked at a photo and made this determination that these are wetlands.
That's our understanding based on the records we've been able to gather through the public records requests. We've also heard the same thing you have, that it may have been a hiker that tipped Ecology off. And I use tipped very lightly because there's no tipping, right? Like Department of Natural Resources had been out on this ground. It was their ground, had been out on there for years and years and years. So clearly knew that the only source of water were these man-made stock ponds for not just livestock, but also wildlife.
And I think that's an important point too, is that a lot of people look at these things and they think that that it's only benefiting livestock, but these ponds are also helping with the wildlife populations out there as well. And what ranchers are doing is maintaining that ecosystem in a way that otherwise wouldn't be as habitable as it is today.
Right,
But
and that really goes to the use of the word, right? It's stewardship, not ranchship. We're not talking about ranching just to promote our own ranch. It's stewardship because we're about the holistic approach and taking care of everything, not just ourselves.
so Department of Natural Resources, though, they've been out there a lot. They've seen how this ranch has operated for, I think you just said 40 years plus to 70 years before them. So they've seen how this ranch has operated for decades, and they've never raised any concerns about this before.
No, and what's really interesting is that we have state laws on the books that require DNR to engage with their tenants if they have concerns about environmentally sensitive areas. In fact, our state legislature, when they wanted to try to address how should we balance, the productive use of land for things like grazing with ecological protection, well, they passed these statutes that require DNR to engage with their tenants to come up with these plans about how to do the activities in these areas. And what's interesting here was that they actually followed this statute on the King's previous lease. They came up with a resource management plan, no mention of these particular wetlands that they decided to call them now. And sort of through that process, during the next lease period, they abandoned that altogether, mostly because they're like, look, Kings, you guys are doing a great job. You are taking care of this ranch so well. We don't even need to do this, was basically how the last lease ended. So, it's interesting that there's actually a statutory obligation for DNR to work with its tenants to solve these kinds of problems so it doesn't turn into this.
Now, does the Department of Ecology have those same regulations, or is that just with the Department of Natural Resources?
So Department of Ecology. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jamie. Go ahead.
So ecology has a bit of a different purview. They are operating under the Water Pollution Control Act. So they're trying to balance this idea of protecting water with all sorts of things that happen, including designated and beneficial uses. Now, to be really clear, the Kings have what's referred to as a vested permit-exempt stock water right. So by watering their stock at these stock ponds, as they have for many decades, they have established a senior water right to do this activity. And our legislature has declared that the use of that right, the exercise of that right, to be a designated and beneficial use under state water law. And so what's really interesting is all of ecology's regulatory authority to protect water quality is solely to make sure that those designated and beneficial uses can keep happening. And so we're stuck in this, it's tautological almost, it's circular, right? Because they're saying, hey, we have these Water Pollution Control Act laws to protect the water so that you can use it for stock water, but your stock watering is violating it, so now you have to stop. And that's their lens. There are other things that they're supposed to consider as part of an enforcement action, including whether or not the enforcement action will lead to the conversion of agricultural land to some other use. There's no evidence that they did that in this case.
And I wanted to get into a little bit here in a second, because I want people to understand that a lot of the damage to the King Ranch, their operations has already been done. They went in and they canceled their leases. But kind of backing up when you were talking earlier about the evidence that you've been able to acquire, the Department of Ecology, from my understanding, also recommended this for criminal investigation. And doesn't that in some sort of way prohibit you from getting all the information you need to protect your clients?
Right, and I kind of hit on that earlier when I said the evidence we've acquired through a Public Records Act. So I think what you're really talking about is when we found out that Department of Ecology actually recommended that the Attorney General's office, through their Environmental Protection Division, the EPD, actually pursue the Kings in a super secret proceeding, somewhat similar to what you'd go after like a RICO crime.
So you can kind of see how wicked this is. It's going on everywhere, folks. It is all part of the end game of getting everybody who's left 100% dependent upon the system, pacified, medicated, zombified, blimpified. So you just go along and become a battery unit. It's 1984, as in the book. It's real. It's happening. It's coming. It's part of why I give you, in advance, folks, I do this. I give you the escape plan. Food's going to become the final weapon. I'm going to hop over to my locals now. We're going to talk about being at it's fourth down. We're half a yard from the goal line of winning, and we fumble. It's an article that I produced on my Substack. I want to give you some texture and flavor to. Join me there next. Share this program, folks. We're all in this together, and if you don't know how the system's doing it, you cannot push back against it, but you better get your stuff together. Start teaching your kids, your grandkids, every way around you to know how to feed yourself. We've lost that art. I love you. See you over at
Exposing the ancient secrets of royalty to grow giant fruit in small spaces. You won't believe how easy it is. Hey there, fellow gardeners. Have you heard about Jovan Hutton Pulitzer's new blockbuster book, Ancient Secret for Growing Giant Fruit in Small Spaces? It's taking Amazon by storm. This isn't just any gardening book. We're talking about ancient methods once reserved for kings and queens, now revealed to the world. Yes, you heard right. Royal secrets for your backyard. Struggling with limited space? No problem. This book teaches you groundbreaking techniques to grow enormous, luscious fruits, even in the smallest of spaces. Imagine tricking fruit trees to bear fruit in months, not years, and growing produce up to 100% larger than what you find in stores. Sounds like magic, right? Pulitzer dives deep into history, uncovering how nobility ensured bountiful harvests. Now, these time-tested secrets are yours to transform your home garden into a paradise fit for royalty. Whether you're an urban dweller, a new homeowner, or an experienced gardener, this book has something for you. It's packed with practical tips and easy-to-follow methods. From enriching soil to perfect pruning techniques, you'll be growing giant fruits in no time. So why wait? Grab your copy of Ancient Secret for Growing Giant Fruit in Small Spaces now, and start your journey to garden greatness. Your home is your castle. Let's make it majestic. Remember, gardening isn't just about plants, it's about connecting with history, nature, and your own little slice of Eden. Happy gardening.